Welcome to Eat Right by George, the healthy cooking show that shows you healthy can be delicious. And on today's show, we are going to be preparing Greek scallops with quinoa and garden fresh vegetables. So this is going to be a really fun show. I'm going to show you in our today's demonstration some really interesting ways to prepare quinoa along with scallops. And scallops are actually a seafood, and they're prepared in a lot of different ways. You can grill them, steam them, and you can saute them. But today I'm going to show you how to cook them Greek style with a little bit of ouzo. And what I'm going to do is flambe them with the ouzo. So it's going to be a really fun and interesting way to make scallops. And then I'll be talking about quinoa, which is actually an ancient grain. Actually, the Aztec Indians prepared quinoa thousands of years ago, and they call it the mother grain. And actually, for us, it's sort of like a super grain because it's a complete protein. So if you are a vegetarian, quinoa is a very important type of grain to be eating because it's a complete protein. You're getting all your amino acids. So I'm going to start off first with our scallops. And what I'm going to do is take some garlic. Need about 4 cloves of garlic. And I'll take my knife. And the way I crush garlic and get it ready is give it a little smack. And the peel should come right off. Just like this. So I like to use garlic with scallops because they complement each other. They go together really good. Because scallops can be, without a little garlic, can be kind of bland. So you want to have a little garlic. So what I do first is get the peel off of each one. Put that aside. Garlic, of course, great for your cholesterol, helps to keep your blood from clotting. And now what I'm going to do is cut off the little ends on each garlic clove, because you'll notice on each garlic clove there is a little end. You don't want that because it's tough. So chop that right off. And then next, I'm going to take my garlic and mince it. So take my French knife. Just sort of mince my garlic. There's a lot of different ways to mince garlic. There's even a thing called a garlic press, where you can take each clove of garlic and you put it inside this garlic press and it crushes it. I like to give it a nice chop though, because sometimes the garlic press makes it a little too mushy. And of course, garlic also keeps the vampires away. So you want to keep the vampires away on Halloween. Eat a little garlic. Okay. So we got our garlic here, minced. And since this is Greek scallops, I'm going to put a little olive oil. So I want to move this, bring this closer. Turn on my heat here. I need about a tablespoon of olive oil. And again, I'm using Ozeri pans. These are green-friendly pans. So when you're cooking with this type of pan, you're using a ceramic surface. So you're not using like a Teflon surface. That's not very good for you. You're using a better surface, which is ceramic, and then the pans also cook more evenly. So we want it to be hot. I want to check this here to make sure. I want to get it really nice and hot. Okay. That way when you flambe your scallops, it's going to be a nice, You're going to get a nice flame, and it tastes much better when the pan is nice and hot. It cooks better. So of course I'm using olive oil, extra virgin, 100% Greek. And as you can tell, the color is dark green when you have extra virgin olive oil. The color is dark green because it's the first cold press, and all the nutrients and flavor are still in there. There are a lot of different other kinds of olive oils as well. There's pure, and then there's also the extra light. Those have been processed a little bit more, so they're not as pure and as tasty as the extra virgin olive oil. So I'm going to try this out. Get this started. Put a few pieces of the garlic in there. Starting to cook a little. We don't want to overcook our garlic either because then it gets a little bitter. So start out. Starting to cook here. That's what's going to give it a lot of the flavor to our scallops. Brings out the flavor. Now, while that's cooking, I like to take my scallops and season them. And I'm using a little scallop seasoning. And this has a lot of different herbs in there. There's also garlic and dried garlic, wine powder, dried onion, parsley, and sea salt. So I'm seasoning giving them some color. Each one. And here they are. Here's the scallops, putting them into my pan now that it's hot. You can hear it cooking. Ooh, it's going to be so good. They're really cooking now. Putting a few at a time. I love cooking with seafood. And seafood is rich in so many omega-3s. And omega-3s, of course, great for our cholesterol. I've even seen studies that show that eating scallops improves your cognitive function because it has omega-3s, and the omega-3s are good for the brain function. Now try not to let them touch when you're cooking with scallops. That way they're not sticking together. So don't overcrowd your pan. Get these nice and hot. And then while these are cooking, a good idea is to take your quinoa and put it in a nice frying pan with about 1.5 quarts of water. And probably like a medium-sized frying pan would be good. And let your quinoa boil with a little chicken broth. So while these are cooking, your quinoa can be cooking because it takes a little time. Quinoa is kind of tough. You want these to be golden brown. You turn them around. They're absorbing all the olive oil and the flavor from the garlic. I got those all turned over. Now that they're cooking really good, I'm going to take a little bit of the ouzo, add that to our pan. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, adding a little bit of ouzo to the mix here. Whoa, it's cooking good now. And I'm just going to flambe them. There we go. Opa. You can see it's flambeing so that all that ouzo is cooking right into the flavor, into our scallops. And it's great for the sauce because I'm going to show you after how to make a nice little sauce. I'm going to let that cook down. Now the ouzo, of course, it's a licorice, so what it's giving it is a little bit of a aromatic flavor to the scallops. Now the way to tell if scallops are done is if they are springing back when you touch them. And they should not be pink in the middle. These are getting okay, closer. And remember, when you're doing a flambe like I just did, your pan should be hot. So don't try to do a flambe with your pan if it's cold, because it won't work. You should have a hot pan with hot olive oil or a different kind of oil if that's what you have with you, like grapeseed oil would be another good one. And you should see the food sizzling in the pan. And remember, add a little bit of the ouzo, and always have something like a little, this type of lighter, which is longer and long handle, so you can kind of move away. So safety is very important when you're making this. You kind of move away from it. Okay, you can probably kind of see how they're looking now. I'm going to kind of turn one and look in the middle. They're no longer pink. I keep turning them. And these are done, so I'm going to put them aside. To get a pan. Nice and hot. You don't want to overcook them because then they're going to be very tough. And you don't want to lose the sauce either, so you want to turn this off. And what you see what's left is a little bit of sauce, which we're going to put over the top of your Greek scallops. So I'll unplug this now. Put this aside and put our pan aside. And I'll show you the quinoa next. And like I said, what I did with the quinoa is I took about 1 cup of the quinoa. And remember that grains, they double in size, so while it doesn't sound like a lot, 1 cup, it actually ends up being like 2 cups. And I took a cup of chicken broth, and put that in a medium-sized frying pan with some warm water, about a cup of warm water. And I let that boil down. Once the water is absorbed, you have quinoa. You can see it's a small grain. It has kind of a nutty flavor, and it goes great with things like seafood. It's probably one of the healthiest grains that you can eat. So that's going to be a side dish for our Greek scallops. And after it's cooked, what I like to do is take and pour cold water over it in order to help the quinoa to stop cooking, because you don't want it to be mushy. So that's why you see it's kind of firm now, because I put it in cold water. And then afterwards, what you can do is warm it up, put it in a small pan and warm it up again, sort of stir fry it with a little olive oil, and it'll be ready to go, which I did earlier. So our quinoa will be ready. Another thing that I did is I took and I sliced some zucchini. I had some fresh zucchini from the garden. This is one of them right here. And many people are not sure what to do with zucchini. If you have a lot of extra zucchini, you can make zucchini bread. You can make little zucchini pancakes, zucchini fritters. What I'm doing here is making a little vegetable medley to go along with my scallops. So I took my zucchini and I sliced that in half. I also took a yellow zucchini. This is a squash actually. Same thing. It has a lot of lutein. It's really good for you. And made another slice. And I also had eggplants. Another great thing is eggplants from the garden. I sliced these into little cartwheels, which are going to be used for the bottom of the presentation of our Greek scallops. I also have some fresh tomatoes from the garden and peppers. I'm going to use these as a little garnish to go along with our dish. So it's always great to get fresh ingredients from our garden. They come in so handy and make your plate so colorful. So next I'm going to take and slice our zucchini. And what I like to do is slice it in half, cut the ends off, and cut it on an angle, thin slices. And I kind of rotate it so that I can get more of the slices more uniform. Because I don't want them too big, I want them bite size, easier to eat. You can see, get some nice little slices, and same thing you can do with your yellow squash. Cut it in a little angle. Once again. And then I like to take my eggplant and slice that into little wheels. And these actually are going to be blanched. What I'm going to do is blanch them. You can see the eggplant can be a little tough. Let's do a couple more. Oh, they are so good for you. They have little seeds in the middle. So you take those, separate them. And what I do is take all of these, blanch them for about a minute or two, just to get them to be a little bit more tender. But you don't want to overcook your vegetables because then they lose a lot of the nutrients. So I just blanch, which means you're cooking at a very short time. And once I blanch them, as you can see, they still have a nice color. They're not firm, though they're softer. I take and put them under cold water for about a minute so that they're nice and tender. And they don't keep cooking, because if you don't put them under cold water, your vegetables will continue to cook, and then they lose their color, and then they have sort of that army green color, which is not very appetizing. So what I have here is real colorful and rich vegetables. Now there are a number of things you can do with your vegetables. You can saute them in a little bit of oil, or you can take and grill them. I'll move this out of the way. I won't need this anymore. So what I do is I like to take and put them right on my grill for a